What is going on, everybody? Welcome to a beautiful start to the month of May. I'm going to be talking all about fixed ops rock stars throughout the month of May. It's the May month of service. Yesterday, I had a little joke in my head, may service be with you, and this May 4th thing. And I thought, it's all about service this month. We're going to have a ton of fun. It's also mental health month. So those two will obviously intertwine as we go through all these discussions. But today I'm bringing you a long time follow, right? First time talking with the guy in person. Someone I've watched, love the post, people first, process first, but all about fixed ops. So some of you may know him if you watch the Service Drive Live. I know he's a big participant there. For those of you who don't, Shawn Butler. Shawn, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Shawn Wells. Thank you for having me on, sir. I always love all your content and your posts. Even when it doesn't pertain to fixed ops, I always find something useful to take away.
Hey, I appreciate it, man. We're trying to bend the content, make sure it goes across all the dealerships and even going outside of dealerships into life with the Mental Health Mondays. We always appreciate your support. So as is customary with our interviews recently, I've been having a lot of fun with this concept of the guest brings the topic, yet I don't learn it till this moment. Shawn, what are we talking about today?
Today, Shawn, you're going to love it because we're going to tie both of them together. We're going to tie sales and fixed ops together. So my concept is, or my question to you and the topic of discussion will be, hey, what is going to happen 3 years from now when all of these people that have been getting whacked over the head for about $5,000 more than the car was actually worth are trying to trade or want to trade, and dealers want to sell new cars? And how will dealers get out of that? More importantly, it's going to be great for fixed ops because they're going to have to keep them and fix them.
So, Shawn, it's an ongoing problem, right? I'll be honest with you. Part of this, the other issue is, I don't think a lot of people understood that with the raise of interest rates really starts to push leasing outside of where it makes financial sense. And I think a lot of people have not seen that until they went to go look at a recent lease and were like, holy shit, I definitely wouldn't do that. So you have, that's going to kill a 3-year cycle. You've got the mad gross game. I mean, I feel like I'm back in the late 90s again, right? Listening to some of these guys talk about like the pounds on deals. I don't know. It's always made me uncomfortable. I'm someone who would rather make 100 a head over 1,000 heads than 1,000 on 100 heads. That's always been my math, Shawn. So I'm interested though, from your perspective, when you talk about they're all going to have to keep them, they're all going to have to service them. Do you think there's a point in that cycle where they've miled the car out, right? They still owe too much. The car is mild. It's at its service point. Like, are you concerned that we'll get to a point where they'll just sort of kind of give up on a car because they, don't want to pay for it anymore and the service of it? Like, I was just asking someone this the other day about service departments, but do you feel like people still are giving a shit about their cars enough to take care of them for the long term to own them as long as they're going to have to?
Yeah, honestly, and I'm not going to name any brands, but I will tell you that the brands that I'm associated with, if you maintain them, they last 2, 3, 4, 500,000 miles. There are brands out there that I wouldn't want to own past $100,000, but for the most part, I think if people will properly maintain their cars, they can get a maximum life out of them. It's will they is the question. And so we have to come up with ways to present it as that we're giving you the opportunity to keep your car in a like new condition and drive it as long as you want. What they do with that information or those opportunities is going to be up to them. But it's going to be they're going to spend money on the car either way. Is that they're going to spend it over the life of the car maintaining it, or all of a sudden are they going to come up on a situation where they need $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 worth of repairs? They're $10,000 upside down, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, what do I do?" They're gonna have to come up with a bunch of cash, one way or the other.
But Shawn, to this point, okay, so they're gonna have to, and I want to touch on something a little bit later on about opportunities for consumers to finance service repairs. I want your thoughts on that. It's something new I'm hearing about certain
Already,
companies jumping up. But to this point, you're talking about, I'm going to roll my car in. I'm going to find out I'm tipped, right? I'm 10 G's tipped. Are you concerned from where you sit in the back that a customer is going to learn that about the front of your dealership and give your dealership the double bird take off and go to Jiffy Lube from now on? Like, is there outlying concerns among service folks that the egregious acts of the front end's grosses are going to cost us all long-term business?
that's definitely a possibility. And to be honest with you, I hadn't really considered that. But that's where we have to win the customer over with the customer experience after the sale and make them feel like the most important thing to come in to the door. So I'd recently hired a new porter greeter in my new store. And she said, well, what's my role going to be? I said, your role is going to be to make every customer that comes in that door feel like you're the happiest MFer in the world to see them that day. And we're going to win everybody over with that customer experience. Now, to your point of will people backlash on the front end? Of course, you're going to get some of that. But if we're doing our job in helping them maintain their car in a proper fashion up front and using the aspects of the electronic MPIs, the videos, the printouts, and giving them all the information and letting them make the decision to keep their car in the shape that it should be, it's an investment. Even though this investment goes down over time, it's really up to them to maintain it, and you have to present it in an ethical and clear way. And right now, there's been a lot of this wave riding over the last few years when people have been cashed up, and some companies have been operating unethically in the front and the back. And those are the people that's really going to suffer. The ones that are doing the right thing by the customer all the way through, they're going to win no matter what.
I think right now, and I think it's going to start showing itself, right? Like the cream rising type analogy there, where it's just like you're going to see, and this is something I've been working on just for an individual podcast show, which is the concept of, I know no one likes to talk about the 1% of anything, whether it's wealth, whether it's this or that. But the fact of the matter is it exists for a purpose. People are considered the best of the best of the best for a reason. You don't consider Michael Jordan good at basketball. You can't. He's great at basketball, and that's okay to be that and maybe to aspire. But at the end of the day, I think the strongest will survive. And I think Shawn, I know you've lived through this. I mean, 08, 09, 10, right? Closures, recessions, feel similar right now. Like the word tracks people are using, the conversations that I'm hearing sort of bilaterally sound a lot like that. And we survived it by being great at what we did. And that's the only way, as Warren Buffett says, that you're going to survive any recession or downturn is you better be great at whatever it is that you do. Indispensably great. And that's what I know you strive for. And I hope most dealers strive for, and they're going to do that through the customer experience. Shawn, what makes you so, for lack of a better term, man, obsessed with the customer experience? Because you talk about it a lot, you reference it a lot. It seems to be the driving force of what puts you where you are. Where does that come from?
From being obsessed with the employee experience. If I know that my employees are the best taken care of and they feel appreciated, they're paid above market rate, that will transcend onto the customers. I insist on the 10-foot rule between employees and customers. If you're passing by somebody, acknowledge them. Ask them if they've been helped. How's their day? You cannot go over the top enough to make everybody feel appreciated. And that leads into our mental health aspect. Over the last couple of years, when people were kind of locked up in the house, and some states were worse than others, how bad was it when people first started really flooding back into the dealership? There were some people that had really kind of lost their social skills, and you had to find a new way to reach that customer and make them feel comfortable. My wife, being a 23-year mental health nursing director for the state of Virginia, I hear about it firsthand every day about how people they've lost their social skills. They're used to staying at home. They're used to instant gratification. You have to be able to bend, adjust, and just make people feel at home and welcome. So I mean, that's just the bottom line.
You you hit it on the head, man. Look, I didn't have great social skills previous to 2020. I don't think that made it any better. That's why I stay home though, Shawn. You see, that's why I'm always in my office because I know my limitations. I know what I enjoy. I just had my first work function where I was in public with more than my wife or my business partner, and there was like 15 people in a room, and it was fine. I didn't do anything crazy, but I walked in the room at first, kind of like, holy cow, I don't have a mask on. I'm in a room of 15. And it just sort of all kind of came back to me because it's the first thing I had done. But that's your wording is what I thought of was, well, all right, don't forget how to be polite though. Like, don't forget how to be in person and to, wait staff or whatever the case was, right? Wherever we were doing. So social skills, I like that. Feeling appreciated is a word you use that I think is become, I don't want to call it a buzzword, Shawn, because I don't think it is. I think it's something people say a lot. I wonder if it's always meant. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I do. So when people are, one of the things that I've experienced in the recent past was I made a post about it not too long ago about there was a gamification. There's a well-known consultant that improves dealerships by turning things into fun. And so I think that's a great concept. It should be fun to go to work. It should be fun to be a customer. But a lot of places took that example to the extreme. And then all of a sudden, they're trying to, whack customers over the head with an extreme amount of unnecessary fluff. And then the customer doesn't feel appreciated. You can't expect somebody to spend 800, 1,000, $1,200 every single time they come to the dealership. And that will eventually erode, and it's what gives dealerships a black eye. It's okay to tell a customer their car's in perfect working condition. Thank you for coming in today. And they don't hear that enough.
Dude, you're speaking my language. It's so funny because, as someone who has been responsible for dealerships and the well-being of people, I always had service directors or managers that I trusted to do their job. And that was sort of how it was. So I was never overly invested, which most GMs, I think, today are getting better than they definitely were when I was one decade and a half ago. They've been getting better, I think, just because the conversations are sort of forcing them to do it everywhere they look. They're talking about inclusion of your departments and people, which again is awesome. But the idea of telling someone that it's okay to, in our case, upfront, telling someone, hey, you want to take a night to think about it? That's okay. I'll be here tomorrow and I'll see you then. Like people would lose their minds when I would say it. Managers would come flying out of desks to be like, no, you can't leave. He did not mean that. And it's like, dude, I did fucking mean that because these people are going to come back. They're going, if we do it this way, they're going to come back. And that's just, I always believed it. Was I right all the time? No, but I think being right more of the time and having those customers that do come back feel that appreciated, I think is something that can be longstanding, assuming when they get to you, you continue with said effort, right? And I don't know, Shawn, you correct me if I'm wrong. I don't find a lot of dealerships that worry about that cultural experience connection.
No, they're few and far between. They're transactional. They're worried about making a sale instead of building a business. My friend Shawn Armour, who's an awesome BDC guy, he talks about a thing called emotional intelligence, right? And we have to be able to connect and feel and get on a deeper level, even through the phone. In today's electronic age with the instant gratification, people still want to know you care and have that personalization and talk to a real person. Their car is the second biggest expense they have in their life. And so why would you not treat that thing in such a value? I've instructed my advisors to not even talk about the car when the customer comes in. Ask them 3 questions, right? Get them talked and involved in a conversation. Where they get their dog groomed, what do they got planned for later in the day? Those kinds of things. We talk about the car when we get up to the desk or after we multi-point selling is going to become more and more of a thing rather than up front. Customers don't want to be hammered up front. Establish the connection. Take the time to invest.
I mean, I agree. I am someone who is committed to my cars, right? So I have an old car, I have an old Subaru that I've had since it had 7 miles on it. It's got 175 or six on it now. And then I've got a leased vehicle that's, a Mercedes higher end, whatever. But the point is that I have two different experiences when I walk into these dealerships, but my commitment level to my vehicle is the exact same. So no matter what they tell me at Subaru needs to be fixed, I say yes. And whether they know this about me or not, it doesn't matter because they don't take advantage of it. Because I've come in there and they've said, car's cool, oil change, high five, have a nice day, and I leave. And then I'll come back and my radiator blew up, and they're like, well, we got to do this plus this. And while you're here, you may as well do this, but you don't have to. And I've always felt like, no, while I'm here. And because they do that, you don't have to, you can put it off. I don't put shit off. Like I had a service advisor tell me one time, Shawn, your check engine light's coming on because of this stupid EPA thing that's going off in your car about the exhaust. He's like, it's just a trigger. It's like a $600 repair, but you can just leave the light on. Absolutely not. That is unacceptable to me. I appreciate you saying that to me as if I would do that, but how will I know if something really breaks? So no, here, go fix the stupid EPA thing that keeps going off and get my car back driving without a light on. So, but I don't know if I'm like that, Shawn, because I don't have the same relationship with money that most people do. It's a means to an end for me. It gets me from point A to point B. So I have no problem talking about it. I have no problem discussing what I owe you, what you owe me, what a bill is, what you make, what I make, I don't give a shit. I will talk about any part of money you want. Most people in America cannot. Do you run into that a lot in the back half of the dealership where people become very, very, both advisor and consumer become very shelled up when the discussion of what's about to happen is going to happen?
Yes, sir. So right to your example, we had a customer that had a 2021 Pilot, not an inexpensive vehicle, probably 55 grand vehicle. And a year into it, all of a sudden he's having electrical issues and the car won't start and whatever. Older gentleman, and he was already kind of argumentative, or just to put it nicely.
Yeah, it's a brand new car, Shawn.
Yeah, and so he comes in, and he'd already been in 2 weeks before. And then when I do my homework, I find out he'd been at another dealership that's like 30 miles away, and they told him to basically beat feet with an engine problem. So we took care of his engine problem. And less than 2 weeks later, he's back with an electrical problem that has nothing to do with it. Well, he's fighting, he's arguing. And I said, what is the real problem here? Well, he installed an aftermarket wiring hitch, which caused electrical problems in his car. And it cost $400 or $500 to straighten it out for him. It's not warranty. We didn't install an aftermarket part on his car. The man didn't have $400 or $500 to fix the car. That was the real problem. But we'd already fixed it on his authorization. So I'm not going to close the dealership over $400. I said, I'll tell you what, come pick up your car, come by and pay me when you can.
Do you think he's going to pay you, Shawn?
Yeah, I do, 100%.
So that kind of dovetails into this whole thing that has now been coming up, which is this idea of companies giving the opportunity to finance service work. And maybe it's not new, Shawn. It's new to my ears. It's new to my consumerism. Looks like we lost Shawn. Give us a second here. See if we can reconnect that. All right. As we were just talking about, people, it's 2022 and we use a lot of technology to get shit done. And sometimes it just lets us down. So here we are, back together with our man, Shawn Butler. Shawn, we were talking about the idea of financing customer repairs. I told you I thought it was a new concept. I thought it was very interesting. I was very appreciative. I only realized it because a group that helped us get our start that I think is near and dear to everything, they started offering it to their clients as sort of an assistance program. Have you heard of it? And what are your thoughts?
Yes. So there's several programs out there, but I believe the one that most people are taking advantage of is called Sunbit.
Yep.
And it is a great way for people to constantly maintain their cars. And I'll tell you how and why that I think it's a great program. So if I go into a dealership and, I've got a $1,800 repair. Well, all right, maybe I don't have $1,800. Maybe I just made my house payment and my car payments and I'm broke right now. But pretty much they get like a 95% approval rate from what I hear. And I've used them at several different places. And so I can speak to that. you put in a small down payment. You have to have a debit card. That's the one catch. You can't do it on a checking account or a credit card. And then they'll tell you how much you got to put down, and then they do monthly payments. You can pay it all off in like 90 days, 0 interest. It's free money. Some bit makes their money by taking 3 or 5% from the dealership, depending on if it's 0 interest for 30 days or 90 days. But you can spread the payments out as long as a year, and they're simple interest. It's not compound interest like a credit card or like a house payment. I mean, I have a lady that came to me recently and she was like, "Oh, the car's paid for, honey. I'm on a fixed income, but I just budget $150 a month for my Sunbit account. So if it needs brakes, go ahead and do them. And I don't care." Because she knows she got that budgeted to that account. It's a great thing for her. And it's very helpful for a lot of consumers.
Yeah, I'm really stoked on hearing this because, as I said, I have an old car. I love my old car, Shawn. Okay, it's a part of who I am. And when it broke for a few days, I was feeling like I couldn't trust it anymore. We've been together for 15 years, and I was having this ounce of trust. And then I said, "Screw it! I've gotten it fixed. I've had Master Techs work on it. Let's just go drive this thing." And I put it all behind me. And the car is this particular car, right? It's an '07. What you can't recreate about this vehicle, besides the body style, which I love it, but you cannot create the quiet in this car, Shawn. There's no screens. There's no shit going on, dude. I mean, the road noise, all right, it's an '07. There's a little bit of road noise, but there's nothing else. It's got a green clock and an odometer and a 6-disc CD changer, bro. All right.
Yeah.
That's I ain't got no power seats and shit in this thing. I got dials and barely got power windows. They all squeak. So it's one of those things that, to me, the customer experience, my wife asked me the other day, or last time the car was in the shop, "Shawn, what's the line here, babe? Where are you drawing the line on this car?" There is none. There literally is none. There is no line for me that I'm not willing to cross for this car. And so I know it's crazy, but I'm committed, Shawn. I'm committed.
Yep, no problem. Yeah. What in the world? I don't know why people are calling me. Yeah, no, people are bugging me.
That's all right. I know it's what happens when you got to do it from the phone. I totally get it.
I'm sorry, bro.
That's all right. Don't worry about it.
I figured out how to close it without shutting us off this time.
Yeah, good. That's good.
Yeah. So what happened here with I'm the same way. So I have an older Tundra, right? It's getting older. It's over 100,000 miles, but guess what? It doesn't have the pre-collision systems on it. It doesn't have all the electronic crap that goes wrong. It's got a regular analog gauge, right? Bro, I'm driving this thing till the wheels fall off, and when they fall off, I'm gonna put them back on, put some new ones, and keep driving.
Totally. If she needs a new engine, crate her in, put her in, and let's keep moving down the hill, because I cannot create the rest of this car. Shawn, you're a busy man. We see that obviously throughout our day here. So let's get you down to sort of wrapping this up for you, because you've been really generous with your time. When you look at the question you started us with, which is what happens 3 years from now, I think things like Sunbit help make that journey of the next 4 years, because I don't think it's 3 anymore, Shawn. That's what I would tell you. I would tell you the idea of turn rate in 3 years is slightly fictitious because of leasing, because of front end gross, because of what I assume is going to be a depression in market, right, Shawn? You said something earlier that cars aren't supposed to appreciate. You and I both know over the last 2 years, some fucking how, they've turned into like prized possessions that gain thousands of dollars over the new version of themselves sitting on people's showroom floors. So it's all gonna, we're a cycle community, the car business and humanity in general. We just kind of keep ourselves in the same loop. That's why we know what happened 10 years ago, Shawn. That's why you and I can reference '08. And before that, you can reference the '90s bubble. And before that, you can reference the '80s bubble, because we just don't learn, I guess. I don't know. I really don't know how we end up here, Shawn, but I answered your question. What is your take on what 3 years from now looks like, to wrap this whole thing up?
Well, my take on what 3 years from now looks like is that the manufacturers themselves are going to have found themselves in a quandary when they're ready to produce more cars, but they've capped the market right now. So they're going to look back in time and go, "Oh crap, maybe there should have been some holes." But because dealerships are franchises, they can do what they want, sell cars for what they want. And it's going to end up biting them in the end, and their bottom's going to collapse just like it did on the housing market in '08, which led to that big recession. And there's going to be a recession in the car business, but fixed ops business is going to go up.
I would agree with you there. The OEMs are, here's the thing. They want control over the sale, right? Like you said, then they control the price of the car. But here, the biggest one out there, the one with the big blue oval, they were the ones bitching about their dealers. Yet they didn't reveal to anybody that in the next allocation of F-150s, the price of an F-150 went up 10 grand.
Crazy.
From them to the dealer.
Crazy. And you know they're banking that money.
So wait a second. I've got this all fucked up. You guys are gonna get mad at the dealer for getting fat while they can get fat. Which, look, I agree with you. I don't think they should either. But then you're just gonna go say, well, fuck it. Then we'll get fat too if that's what fat is. I don't know, man. It just, the OEM relationship with the dealer is so tenuous. It's so jacked up. Guys like Lucid, Tesla, they're all breaking these franchise laws in all these states. And it bends my mind because I think, electric vehicles could have much faster adoption if they would have partnered with franchise car dealers. Period. Just plain and simple, foot traffic, processes, people, everything could already be done and figured out. More importantly, how to handle the fixed op side of things. These electric cars still need shit. They're still going to need shit. What did we just talk about, right? All our car breaks. What breaks in new cars? Electrical shit. Okay.
Yep.
So think about more of it, right? So that's something for a later day. I want to get your input on the electric future of our world and what that looks like to fixed ops. But right now, today, Shawn, you're a busy man, and I've been more than gracious to have you on the show, man. I love your question. I love your perspective. And I want you to just keep doing what you're doing. Thank you so much from an industry perspective. You always trying to lift people up. And I know today was a special day for you, right? At your new shop. You went ahead and you just put it out and grilled for the people today. So on the way out, Shawn, tell us that story real quick, how you got there to take care of your people.
Yep. So I got, I was contacted by my good friend Greg Moore with Umansky Auto Group about a new opportunity with the store that had been unloved. Just basically a very old previous owner. The store just basically slowly died over the last 2 or 3 years. And so I went in there and I told the guys, I was like, look, give me 90 days to help improve every aspect of your work lives. Thank God you stuck in here. A good ground floor. I mean, literally nobody left during the buy sell, and they all sparked that little spark of hope. You could see the morale increasing by the daily conversations, daily meetings. I said, just look, if you're not happy in 90 days, I'll call the wrecker and load your box up for you and let you get out of here. Okay, no worries. But less than 30 days into it, it took me about 10 or 15 days to get everything going in the right direction. The second half of the month, our hours per RO and our ELR were just, it's not even close. Our ELR was up like $35 an hour and the hours per RO was up like 0.4. So everybody started benefiting. They saw it. And we ended up setting a record fixed ops month for the store that I could go back as far as 5 years to find. So I told them every month we do that, I'll grill out for them on the first Friday of the new month. So today we grilled out. Next month, we'll grill out again. And the next month after that, we'll probably grill out again. Then we'll take it from there.
Incredible, man. Thank you so much, Shawn, for your time, for what you do for our industry. Folks, if you're looking for Shawn Butler, I know where to find him on LinkedIn. Shawn, is there anywhere else to find you where you put your content out in the world that I don't see it?
No, sir. I participate with great shows like yours, and I'm always trying to learn more. That's the biggest thing. Never stop learning.
I love it. I love it. You can find him on LinkedIn. Thank you guys so much for your time this week. Next week, we're going to keep the service pros coming. I can't release the name because I just don't have a confirmed date and I don't want to let anybody down. All right. But we're working on it. Know that I'm all about service this month. Thank you all so much. Have yourselves a great week.
Thank you, Shawn.